Today we are going to be taking a look at a way to make cake super efficiently with a few basic farms to make the whole process a little bit more automated. So here we are inside of Minecraft, and as you can see, my character is a little bit hungry, a little bit peckish. I feel like I know what would really saturate me. It would really fulfill me as if I could have some cake, probably because the title of this video is all about that. So in order to do that, let's run on over to our cow, get some milk, head on over here, grab an egg, over to our wheat farm and grab a little few pieces of wheat, and then on over to our sugarcane farm, grab some sugar. We just need 2, and then head to our crafting table and craft the whole thing up. If I'm lazy, I can use just the recipe, the crafting book over here, and then bam, I have my cake, and I get my buckets as a result. Throw it down. I love cake that's been sitting on grass. It's my favorite type of cake that's not very sanitary. I should have put it on my crafting table at least. So by using all of these different farms to quickly automate the process, I'm able to get a whole bunch of the materials that I need in order to make cake. Starting off here with the wheat farm, it's very, very simple to harvest this farm. All of the things go into that hopper. Most of the things, I guess I should say, because you get like 1 or 2 drops up here that like to pop a little bit high and then rest on the edges here. Gosh darn it. And then so you get all that right in there, and then you have plenty of seeds to replant your farm once that is all done. I have the growth of these crops set really, really high, so things are going to start growing super duper fast for us here. So that's not very natural, I know, but it makes recording a lot easier. Then we have our chickens over here. They're a whole bunch of adult chickens, and they cannot leave because they're standing on a honey block, so they can't jump out of that area, and they will constantly produce eggs. You have your cow here. He can't escape because of the honey blocks as well. He's pretty simple because he just produces milk all the time. And then finally, you have a sugarcane harvester, which just constantly pumps out new sugarcane. Once again, the growth rate is set really high on that sort of stuff so that I can easily record this video. So let's go ahead and make each one of these little farms so that you guys can follow along and have the same sort of materials. So in order to make this, you're going to need a whole bunch of building blocks, some glass, a little bit of redstone, at least 1 redstone torch, 1 wooden button. It does need to be wooden, not stone, because of the timing. A few trapdoors, depending on how big you want this to be. You could really make it whatever size you want. At least 1 oak sign, a hopper, some chests, a few sources of water to make infinite water and to have as much water as you want, the dirt for the farmland, and then your seeds, which you're going to need in order to make wheat. Okay, so let's start building. First, in order to put down your farmland, you can really make this just about as big as you want. Do realize that once you get beyond 7 blocks, you're going to need another sort of water source to cause that water to flow over into this hopper. So I'm only going to make mine about 7 wide. There we go, 7 wide. And then we can make this about 8 deep. There we go. So this is going to be where we have our actual cropland. So now that we have that, we can add a border, and I'm going to have the front be on this side right here. So I'm going to put down a temporary block and then create a border all the way around like so. Once we have our border down, then we can add some trapdoors. Head on over to this side and place them so that when they are open, they face away from you, and that there's a solid face on the edge that will eventually be the farmland. Now you can grab some water and hold down shift, and you'll just waterlog these blocks. Whoops, no, I didn't want water. I don't want that one to be water. Here we go. And this will fill in that area. Now, whenever you activate these with redstone, they will flow. And as long as your water stops directly at the edge block, you are good to go. Now, over here on this edge, go ahead and put down your redstone. Have a redstone line come all the way to the back. On these last 2 blocks, put down a solid block, then put down a redstone torch. and then have a redstone line come out the back right here. And what this is going to do is the redstone will always be on, which will keep the trapdoors in that position. Then when the redstone turns off, the trapdoors will fall, and then when the redstone turns back on, they will go back up. So that is a nice way to create a quick water flow. Now at the front, we're just going to create a little trough for the items to head down. So we're going to use glass to do that, just because I like to see what's going on whenever this happens. And these items are going to like shoot out once they're done. So we are going to make sure to have a little bit of an extra wall right there. So when they fly this way, they'll hit that wall and head downwards. Underneath that button, I'm going to put a sign, and that will stop the water flow. So if we put our water right here, it'll go until it gets to that sign and then stop. And we're also going to make sure to add a little bit of a scoop right there, because the items like to fly as they're headed down that water. Now it's time to add our chest. So we're going to just dig under here, dig out that block, and go to a hopper and make sure the hopper is pointing into that chest. And you can open it because this is glass. So if you're going to put any block there, just make sure it's a transparent block so that you can open that chest. Now just go ahead and make this all farmland. You'll be able to have this farmland be fertilized with all the water pretty easily, because all of the water from up here and in the beginning over here, this will keep everything nice and moist, which is really nice. Now just take your wheat seeds, and remember my growth rate is set to crazy high, so these are going to grow immediately while I'm looking at them. But for you, it will take a little while, unless if you have access to commands, and then you were like, why are you even making this? Because you could just like spawn in your own cake. And there you go. So once this grows up big and strong, then you can click that button. The timing will allow all of the items to get over here before the trapdoors will release. Even though this isn't finished, I'm just going to go ahead and hit it just so you can see. There we go. You get all the items down here. They all flow over to that hopper. It'll pick it all up and then slowly deposit it into that chest right over there. And then once you're done, you just grab some of the seeds from that chest and then place them back over here. As long as you don't jump up and down on this farmland, it'll all be good. Next, let's take a look at this awesome egg farm that we have working here. And this uses 2 chests, a hopper, a rail, minecart with a hopper inside of it, a honey block, a piston, a stone, button. It really can be any button, and a little bit of glass. So for this farm, we're going to start off with a chest situation into a hopper. The hopper needs to point into the chest. The rail will go on top of that hopper, so make sure you hold down shift while you do that. Then we're going to put our minecart with a hopper on top of there. And we can also go ahead, actually, before you do that, before you put that hopper on there, put down your slime, and then put your hopper with a inside of a minecart, and then break the rail. And that rail, if you're in survival, will then immediately go into that chest. Then on top of that honey block, we're going to put down 2 temporary blocks, 1, 2, and break the middle one, and then put your piston facing into that honey block. Then you can break the top one. Then we're going to take a button and put it directly onto the piston. And when we activate this, it'll send a 1 tick pulse down, pushing that into the hopper, just like that. It'll break the button, and then the piston will retract back. Now you don't need that piston anymore. We're going to put down a temporary block, and then all 4 of, oops, oh my gosh, this is like Picasso glass here. Then we're going to put down our 4 glass like that, and then break that temporary block. And then once you get your chickens inside of this area right here, they will not be able to leave, because that honey will prevent them from jumping out of that 1 high block gap. Okay, now it's time for the easiest of our farms. You just need 4 honey blocks. You just take your honey blocks, dig them into the ground, put them down, and then whenever you get an animal to fall on that, they won't be able to escape. So we've just done that with this cow here. And remember, you can get the cow to come to you with wheat. So it's pretty simple. Okay, last but not least, this fantastic sugarcane farm. Here are the things that you need in order to make this. Starting off with your chests, right, like so. Put a hopper into that chest, then put a rail onto that hopper with some sand, whoops, sitting on top of that, so it's like, looks like it's floating. Then you take your hopper with a minecart So minecart with a hopper inside of it, put it on the rail, and this time you don't need to break the rail if you don't want to. Now we're going to come around to the back. I'm going to put down a temporary block, and then I'm just going to cover that temporary block in glass. And this does not need to be glass. I just like it because I can see it. And we're going to break that temporary block and put water down. On top of that water, I like to just throw another block just because there needs to be a block, and that'll make sure that none of the sugarcane falls into that water, which is useful. Then we are going to take a piston and face it towards that sand. That way, when it fires off, it'll aim for that area with the sand. We're going to come around to the back and place down the observer. That means that the face will be on the same side that the piston is. Then below the observer on the piston, we're going to put down a solid block with a dot of redstone. That means that anytime that this observer changes, then it will fire off that piston. Go ahead and grab your sugarcane, put it down, and then we're just going to make sure that this is completely encased in glass so that none of our sugarcane escapes whenever it is broken. We're also going to put one right on the top as well. And there you go. Now you have a sugarcane farm. Now, when it is time for you to make some cake, you just head to each of these individual farms. They're all pretty semi-automatic, and then you can make your cake with ease. And there you go. That's it. Thanks so much for watching this episode of OMG Craft. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a big old thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights here on OMG Craft. See you next time. Bye.